and welcome to section 3 of ITIL 4 Specialist High Velocity IT course. In this section, we're going to understand principles, models, and concepts related to ethics, safety culture, lean culture, Toyota Kata, lean, agile, resilient, and continuous concepts in HVIT, service dominant logic, design thinking, and complexity thinking. And we will also learn how to use these principles, models, and concepts in order to contribute to these 5 behaviors: deal with uncertainty, trust and be trusted, commit to higher performance, help get customers' job done, and improving by being inquisitive. There are 5 key behaviors for high velocity IT. These behaviors reflect organizational needs and practitioners' own aspirations, because people want to do worthwhile things, to learn and improve, and to be recognized. So these are not unique to high velocity IT, these behaviors. This combination of behaviors appeals to people who understand the digitally enabled enterprise. The 5 key behavior patterns for high velocity IT: accept ambiguity and uncertainty, trust and be trusted, continually raise the bar, help get customers' job done, and commit to continual learning. A little bit more on these 5 behaviors. Accept ambiguity and uncertainty. It is about favoring experimentation and not to be afraid to fail safely. So do some fail-safe experiments. Continually raising the bar is to proactively spot and make improvements, however small they may be. Help get customers' job done is about helping somebody solve their problems and become what they want to become, and also recognizes how customers feel. It's about feelings in customer experience. There are 2 more behaviors: trust and be trusted. This is about respecting professional skills and trusting people to make decisions. Be considerate to fellow human beings. Inclusiveness and safety reduce stress. Provide honest but considerate feedback. Share knowledge. Commit to continual learning. It relates to not to be ignorant. Perform data-driven experiments which challenge and improve hypotheses, and also short feedback loops which are key to learning. The first concept: ethics. Ethics is a system of principles which defines what is good for individuals and society. Digital organizations have a moral obligation to consider how they apply IT beyond their direct economic interests. Ethics is about education, learning lessons from software development, trusted and collaborative organization design leading to ethical practices. Machine learning, for example, can amplify human biases. A Turing bot that learned hate speech from social media. So if you look at this example, it becomes clear that ethics should not promote AI like Turing bots to learn hate speech from social media. Emotional intelligence needs to be developed in people before programming it in technology. While we are talking about cognitive technologies which understand human sentiments, but then first humans should know it properly, only then we can program it into systems. Creation and use of information related to people needs to be done ethically. In the previous slide, there was a mention about software development related ethics. How can we do that? For example, data protection can be one ethic when developing software, services, and products. And the message what we see here is that social media and other video platforms may be misused. Therefore, the service provider should ensure that ethics are followed and they are not compromised. Sometimes gaming technologies can also introduce aggressive behaviors in teenagers. Let's look a little bit more on the ethics. Internet is having a profound effect on human society. We all know that. And we don't know the full impact of the internet, but only what is the impact so far. Therefore, ethics are important in day-to-day work and in the big picture. Tolerate failure to encourage learning in a no-blame environment. Ethics is also about tolerating some amount of failures in order to improve things. We can't force ethics on people with policies. People will do what they want to do. So there should be policy as well as creativity. But ethics education must be part of learning. It should be part of the core learning. There should be workshops. There could be basic training about ethics, and there should also be scenario-based workshops and discussions. Because sometimes there may be conflict between an individual's value, what they consider as their own ethic versus an organization's ethic. Measure and monitor attitudes to ethical behavior. Ethics have to be monitored by an organization. Recruitment policies and procedures should also focus on ethics understanding. There may be certain procedures on how to conduct an interview. Maybe there should be at least 2 people in an interview so that there is no bias and there's no discrimination during the interview. Including ethics in retrospectives and lessons learned. Yeah, learning lessons from failure to abide by mandatory ethics as well as aspirational ethics. Design organizations to encourage collaboration and visibility. Organizations should promote collaboration and visibility so that ethics can be discussed transparently, and there may be good ideas from staff on how to create policies and how to ensure ethics. Think about how your actions affect others. These are some of the behavior patterns when it comes to ethics. Every individual must think about how their actions can affect others. Number 2, there should be generic principles established for ethics by an organization. Number 3, accepting that ethical principles just help to clarify specific situations. Ethical principle is not about everything about humanity, but it is about specific situations which may be encountered in provider and consumer interactions and in service management. Discuss dilemmas about ethics. Sometimes there may be dilemmas about whether doing a certain thing is ethical or not. Take responsibility for choosing the least bad course of action. It's always a good idea to choose the least bad course of action. Ethical principle could be as simple as not to allow discrimination, or it could be reporting the correct information. For example, reporting the correct progress of release and deployment, or it could be performing change management in a transparent manner so that the risks are highlighted and the benefits are highlighted to the concerned stakeholders. Next comes safety culture. Safety culture is a climate in which people are comfortable being and expressing themselves. People will point out risks, hazards of environment, technical failures, human errors, and process flows. And people will point out such risks when senior management is committed to their safety. If the management is not concerned about safety of people, people will hesitate to share those problems. Learnings and hazard concerns are shared by the people. There are realistic practices for handling such hazards. For example, in safety, from my experience, I recollect an account which is internally used by a system might expire. Let's say there is an application which is regular reporting, but it might be doing the reporting based on an internal ID. What if that internal ID expires? That may lead to a non-delivery of a financial report, for example. And imagine if that financial report was a mandatory report for a government. Even though the data required for the report was made available by other systems, say downline systems or upline systems, but the report did not go through. So if it is a safe environment, somebody, lower level staff who is monitoring the daily reporting might anticipate this possibility and alert the management that, hey, this software uses an internal ID, and what if it expires? And they may alert this to the designer or to the service owner. Imagine if the environment is not safe, they may be hesitant to mention this to the management. Complex systems in HVIT environment have flaws and significant issues or hazards which occur due to combination of flaws and causes require a safety culture for best handling. So complex situations are prone to errors because of multiple issues, not just single issue. And that's why it requires a safety culture where people can openly discuss what has happened, what can be done. Little more on the safety culture. Organizations are under pressure to continually improve performance. Products have increasing pestle impact, the political and other factors. Safety culture helps to manage these risks. The safety culture, people will share their concerns, and those concerns may help in identifying the pestle related risks, and therefore actions can be taken to mitigate those risks. Therefore, organizations need to encourage this behavior. They need to encourage behavior that is good for all stakeholders, including their workforce, and it should foster shared beliefs, perceptions, and values to support this. In a safety culture, people feel trusted and valued. They're prepared to point out risks even if this might reflect badly on them. If you see, some of the points are repeated again in a different manner, and it's important because in the exam, you may have a situation and you have to point out, is this a safety culture or a lean culture or an agile culture or some other culture? So therefore, it's reinforcing the same message. In HVIT, once again, it's crucial that people feel able to share their opinions and experiment with improvement without fear of embarrassment. So even if they are likely to fail, it's okay because nobody is going to laugh at them or make fun at them. Therefore, this culture needs to be promoted by management commitment. And they can do this to realistic practices, continual learning, care and concern for the workforce. What are the behavior patterns for safety culture? We have 5 here. Don't just talk about why safety is important, do something about it. Safety culture has to be brought into the organization. Rather than people saying, management telling, we need safety, we need to promote safety. But what is it and how to do it and do something about it? Exhibit vulnerability. Say when you have doubts and ask for help. It's okay to feel at risk. Foster feedback and act on it. When somebody raises a concern, some action should be taken on it. Be kind and compassionate. Build human relationships. Be realistic about failure. Acknowledge that will happen and that people are not to blame, but the system is to blame. So let us reflect on those concepts and terms before we move forward.